Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be looking at Ethereum. Let's get into the price action and see what's going on. So we're still looking for further evidence that we are in fact in an A, B, and a C wave to the downside here, looking for this potential to actually come down towards this zone of this 121, which is sitting here at this 1721. Lower down, we also have this 1236, which aligns with our channel here. And then what we need to be aware of is we want to stay away from this 59 area. Now, if we do break down into the zone of this 1559, what we'd have to be on the lookout for is that we could actually have this as a bigger 5-wave structure, and we could be looking to break down in a bigger way. So we'll need to be avoiding this if we want to continue to look for bullish potential to the upside here. Now, what we'd be talking about here is that we are looking for that possibility. We are still within the C wave, and we were talking about a couple of ways of looking at this move. So if we are looking at that potential that within this move, we are looking for that C wave, what we could be looking at is the fact that we could have an extension to the downside where we have a series of 1s and 2s here, and we're just waiting for that bigger drop to start happening. Now, the invalidation of this would actually come by crossing back above this high here of this 1887. Moving back above this would invalidate this potential of this yellow wave 2. Now, what I'm looking for here is that this wave 2 could still be in play here, where we could actually see this being either a W, an X, and a Y, and we actually have one more push to the upside where we could still look for rejection once again within this zone of this 1865 to this 1812 area. So need to keep an eye on this. This is still a possibility here. We could still see this Y wave play up to the upside. Now, the reason that I don't particularly like this count is the fact that the wave 2 is getting drawn out here. Now, another thing that we can't actually write off within this count is that within this we could have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this could make this then an expanding diagonal as a 1 and 2 again, in which case we could be looking for a bigger break to the downside. Now, given that, what we would want to see if that is the case, we want to see a nice big strong impulsive move down towards the 1701, and then we'd want to see follow through within this structure for an additional 4th and a 5th. So we'd be looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. From that point, then we'd be starting to look for whether we actually move down to the 1607. So this is going to be a key area here. A drop down to 1607 would validate the idea of having this as a 1, 2, and then looking for this bigger third wave. Until we actually do that, this is just a theory, and we need to just monitor it. And the way that this wave 2 is developing now, if it does something like this, it would be more probable that we have something else going on. So we'd have to just keep that in mind. Now, the other way that we could look at this structure is that within this move, what we could have is a expanding diagonal in a bigger scale here. So from further back here, what we'd be looking for would be the potential that this would be 1, 2, 3. And now what we'd want to see is an interaction with this wave 1 high, or low, which would be this 1860. Now we'd want to see a 3-wave move up to here, followed by a continuation down in another 3-wave move. 1-to-1 of this as an ABC would look to bring us back up into this zone of this 1878, which would be quite an interesting level as we have this swing high within this range. So this would be quite an interesting zone. If we form another 5-wave move to the upside into this area, this could tie into the idea of this being A, B, and C. So this would be looking for that potential to still have this bigger drop here for this 5th wave. Now, if we did move up to this 1-to-1, we would have to have a 5th wave that was longer than this 1690, because otherwise it then would not meet the requirements, as wave 5 needs to be longer than this wave 3. So what we'd want to see is a 3-wave move going past this 1694 confirmation of these. Now, the caveat here is basically that these expanding diagonals are not as common as the contracting ones. So it's one of those things we're going to have to keep an eye on. It is still a potential, but we need to see this wave 1 get crossed, and we need to stay below this 1933 for this to be a viable option. The alternative that we were discussing within the count was actually looking for that potential that we have a bigger A, a B, and a C pattern to the downside. Now, what we would be looking for is a 1-to-1 target here. If we did move up for this B wave into the area we're looking for, is actually this 1705. Once again, coming back down and looking to bring us into this lower range here, looking for this blue target here of this 1692. Now, if we do get a push to the downside here, what we'd be looking for is first to have a 5-wave move to the upside. Now, what we'd be discussing about this move to the potential upside here is looking for this as either a bigger impulse, where we are looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this would be treating this as just a regular wave 1 into this high, and then looking for the potential to turn around. So we did get a reaction off of this zone here, the 0.6 618. Actually, it was off the 702 exactly. But what I'm looking for here is follow through to the upside. If we fail to continue to follow through here, this would then mean that, we need to be cautious because this could be something else going on here. And potentially what we could see is that this could be WX and we get one more drop to the downside, looking for the 786. The thing is, within the structure, this does seem to be 5 waves, but this 5th wave is a little bit debatable here. So you could also argue ABC up, and then basically that would make this WX, and then we'd be looking for this Y wave, in which case this could be AB, and we see one more drop come back down to this 1762. So for as long as we actually hold this 1740 area, though, we need to be aware that there is still potential to push to the upside. And now this would be looking still in this case for that potential of a third wave towards this 1950. We'd have to get a big, strong impulsive move to the upside here, made up of 5 wave structures, looking for this zone for confirmation of this count. Now, the other way that this could happen, where we are not looking at this as a regular impulse, but rather as a diagonal, still looking for that possibility of that C wave to the upside, would actually be looking at this as a 3-wave move here, followed by another one here for this wave 2. And then what we'd be wanting to see here is looking for another 3-wave move up here for wave 3. This wave 3 should take this wave 1 high here. And what we would be looking for is a move that fails to actually push above this 1880. We'd want to see a 3-wave structure developing to the upside here, looking to push up towards this zone of this 1880, but not crossing it. So this, depending on how the structure actually forms here, could be quite significantly shorter than that, or it could actually bring us right up into this level. What we would be looking for then would actually be another 3-wave move to the downside, looking to cross this wave 1 and then continuation to the upside once again for this 5th wave. So if we theorize that the wave 3 location would come up into these highs here, what I would then be saying is that if that is the case, this wave 5 can then no longer cross this 1950 area. If it moves above this, that would mean that we have a different structure going on here, and it would probably be more likely that then, we are following that typical 5-wave move. So this would bring us into some interesting areas up here. We have this 1933, which could be a potential swing high within this area. And, we could see a reversal off of this and a break to the downside. So if we do move up into this zone, like I said, we're looking for that possibility of a flat correction here. So what we would be looking for typically as a zone for a rejection would be, if it is going to be a running flat, towards this 1-to-1 of this 1967. However, if this is going to be an expanding flat here, we could typically see a move up towards this 1236, which is sitting up here at this 2025 to this 2123. Now this would be looking for this as a C wave, so we'd want to see a clean 5-wave move up into this area and then rejection. So we do have some confluence here between this 786 and this 1.382, which is both sitting here at this 2061. So this is quite an interesting level. As well as that, if we did have to move back up into the top of this channel here, we do have this range from further back here where we could actually look for that potential to bring us back into this channel. So this would be quite interesting. We have this value area high, which is also sitting towards the zone of this swing. So this is also aligned with this channel. So if we did get a move to the upside here, potentially we could see something like this where we get a move up and then we actually look for a break to the downside. So that would tie into the idea of this a 3-wave move to the upside and then continuation, a 5-wave move to the upside and then continuation to the downside for that C wave, which could look to bring us back into this channel and possibly down towards the 1705. So some other key areas of support that I would be looking for if we do look to continue to push down here. So that 50% is actually sitting here at this 1712. We have these lower levels here, the 618 gold, so this golden pocket basically sitting between the 1624 to the 1601. This would be aligning with coming back into this trend line as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as the moves play out, but this is one of the things that I am looking for here. Now, if we are looking to break down deeper here, that would be within that ABC move, and what we would need to see is that hold its structure. If we fail to hold that structure, then we need to be careful for that possibility of this break to the upside here, looking for the C wave, and then that continuation to the downside. Though really, like I said, until we actually start to take some of these swing highs like this 1887, we need to just be aware of that fact that we could actually start to break down directly here and start to complete the internals of this bigger 5-wave sequence if it is actually going to develop as one. the areas of confluence that we might have here if we do move both to the upside and to the downside is if we have a look here. I'm looking at the CPR and we have these central monthly lines here. So what I'm looking for is whether we get an interaction with this. If we get a move to the upside here into the channel, this would be a retest of the center line, which would be quite an interesting area. Obviously with the other zones of confluence, what this could then mean is that we see a move up into this and then we see a move back down and looking to retest some of these lower CPR lines, which are sitting here at this 1708 and this zone here of this 1546. So if we do see a move up into here, there is the potential that if we face rejection, we could find a move back down into some of these lower levels. So that would be the one thing that I'm looking at here. The other thing that I'm looking at here is on the 4 hourly, we have some interesting things here. If we actually had a move to the upside here and we looked for that single leg one more time into these highs, this would be an interaction with the top of this 4-hour Ichimoku cloud now, which is actually looking to be around this zone of this 1880. So if we do see a move to the upside here, I would be keeping an eye out on this level. Now, another area of interest could actually be if we do look to push up higher here towards this channel line. What we do have is the 8-hour Ichimoku cloud in this zone as well. So the lower range of this would be towards this 1909, and then we would also have this area towards the higher part of this, which is sitting towards this 1952. So that would tie into that idea of this having a 5-wave move as a flat and then looking for that rejection to the downside. As well as that, if we come out here onto the daily, looking at some areas of support potentially below us given by the daily Ichimoku, this would tie in quite nicely with coming back into this channel here. So this was why I'm thinking, this would be quite likely a move up and then a move back to the downside, looking to retest some of these lower levels here. It is, however, possible that what we could do is actually find resistance towards the top of this daily cloud and then see a break to the downside. So this is just another little area of confluence that I'm looking for here within this count. Okay, so moving on to the CVD, what we have here is prices setting higher lows here, and we have the CVD which is setting lower lows here. Now this is indicating absorption at the moment, and what that means is that there are limit orders that are absorbing the market orders when price is coming into these levels and is buying it up. So what we could actually see is this move start to actually break away from here. So there's a couple of things I'm being aware of. Obviously, we've got our different levels that we're watching out for confluence. And what I want to see is that if we do actually see a move to the upside, particularly into this high here, I want to see whether CVD is actually starting to rise significantly. If it fails to, what we need to be aware of is that we could then actually have CVD either setting a lower low within, a lower high within this region and a higher high like this, in which case, from this point rather, what this could indicate is that we could see that divergence and that continuation to the downside. So it's going to be interesting if we do see another move to the upside. So this would tie into those that downside possibility of the either the extension or the expanding diagonal. What we could see is an interaction towards the swing high here, and then look for that break to the downside. However, if CVD does continue to push up here and we start to neutralize that fact of that bearish CVD within here, what I would still be mindful of is as long as we don't take this high, we would still actually have bearish CVD, provided that it doesn't actually move up past this point here. So this would be something that we'd have to keep an eye on here, and could actually indicate that we could see a reversal from that point once we reach some of those targets we talked about, particularly that channel line I would be looking at as a interesting zone. Obviously CVD can't be used on itself. You need to use this in relation with other indicators or methods for more confluence